I was looking forward to this game's release, and it's not often that a game disrupts my rotation, let alone makes a home there. I've played my fair share of games ranging from genre to genre, and while words are buzzing around Cyberpunk's release, I want to talk about the good, the bad, my experiences, and answer the question of, is the game worth it? So, without further ado, let's review Cyberpunk 2077. I've been looking forward to this game since its trailer at E3 in 2018. I was in like 7th grade then, and it's crazy to think I've been waiting for so long. But it's finally out, and I've played this game for hours on end, and so far, I'm enjoying myself. For the most part, I have been roaming around this expansive city, taking cars and motorcycles, getting into fights, and completing a lot of side missions. And while the game is fun at its best, you will be greeted with many issues along the way. For instance, there are a lot of glitches. Like right off the bat, I was met with a call that wouldn't leave my screen, and a lot of minor stuff like this happened, but I didn't really mind until around the 3-hour mark when my game crashed for the first time. So far, my game has crashed around 3 times, and since then, I've been a lot more annoyed with glitches recently. There are a lot of minor ones, like someone will hold a phone to their face on a call, then their hand will drop but the phone will stay. I'll have issues with calls not leaving the screen. I'll have issues sometimes taking out my weapons and equipping them. Sometimes it won't let me run. I'll have cars I was driving just disappear. Some items say you can pick them up but don't give you the option to. Not being able to track certain missions, having my health bar not even show up, and many, many more. But they are almost funny in a way. I haven't run into too many game-breaking bugs, but the issues I've mentioned would be more than enough to get someone annoyed with the game. And not only are there bugs, but constant frame rate drops and lag spikes. For a single-player game, this simply shouldn't happen, and if it does, it should happen rarely. But I will constantly find myself running into situations where the game looks like a PowerPoint presentation, to the point where sometimes I will just have to wait for the game to catch up again. Now, this only really happens when I start fighting a group of enemies, but still, this is a single player game, this shouldn't happen, and the frame rate drops have even happened in cutscenes, and there is no excuse for that. I know I have a PS4, but the game should really be optimized better. Talking about optimization, it is one thing that should really be fixed. I will have to wait so long for people, items, and the scenery to render in and for them to not look like some clay blob for 20 seconds. It gets pretty bad as well because sometimes, like there's this one instance where I was driving along this road really fast on a motorcycle, and at the very last minute this roadblock of cars on fire rendered in, which basically destroyed my ride and was very inconvenient for me. Let alone it took another minute for the enemies to spawn in so I could even get a grasp as for why it was there. And I know the game could look so much better because this is the same console that could handle Spider-Man PS4, or God of War, or even Final Fantasy VII Remake. So for a game to look like this, and act the way it doesn't really fall on the console but the game itself. The game is also riddled with inconsistencies. First of all, the police or NCPD make no sense in this game. They will give you missions and you'll help complete them, but no matter how many you do, they still get mad at you and aggressive towards you. Let alone, the whole wanted system in this game doesn't make all that much sense. So from what I understand, if you do something illegal, like kill a person, your wanted level will go up. But if you run away, your wanted level will go down. But cops will still try to attack you if you stay too close to them. So when does it fully go away? Does it ever reset? Maybe I'm dumb, but I feel like the game didn't explain it all that well. Also, shooting and killing people in this game is illegal, but running them over isn't. Let alone, they don't even seem to take any damage. Like, was this an oversight? Seriously, not one civilian has been killed after I ran them over. And trust me, I tried. Also, whenever a civilian gets scared, like they witness gunshots or something, they go into this little scared animation that kind of looks like a little crab dance, but they never go out of it. You can stay there for 10 minutes after the fight is over and the civilians will still be in their animation. Also, another thing, why does everyone have a gun in this game? I swear, I was walking between alleys and I saw a homeless boy sitting on a mat with a gun. I've seen people in diners eating a burger with a gun in their hands, and well, I know the city has a high crime rate and all, but why does everyone always have a gun on them? It's just odd. Also, the roads can be really unrealistic in this game. For the most part, you have normal turns, but sometimes there are streets where you basically have to turn the car all the way around to make something as simple as a right turn. And don't tell me I was driving the wrong direction, because I was following the map. Now, talking about the story, well, I can't say much about it. To be honest, I haven't finished the main storyline yet, or even gotten all that far in, because I've been roaming around the city completing side quests like I usually do with these types of open world games. But with what I have experienced so far, I'm actually surprised at the route it has taken, and if you finished or gotten past at least that first part in a sense, you know what I'm talking about. But it's a concept I never even expected, so I'm surprised. Now, from what I have experienced so far in the story, it's actually really interesting with the tasks it has you complete and the overarching storyline of our character, plus the missions are actually really fun and expand the world for us a lot. Basically, so far, I don't have much to complain about with the story, and it's been very engaging so far. Now, I picked the path of Corpo, and I was expecting to do some high-rise stuff, maybe spy on some high-end officials, be part of some political nation's affairs, but not even one mission in, you are regulated down to the path of a thug. Which sucks, because I was really looking forward to seeing the high life of this futuristic world, but instead it took the Battlefront 2 approach, and like that game, switched sides not that far in. But at least with Battlefront, you were able to play as an Imperial for a little. But here, I only experienced it walking around some corporate building. Now, I don't know how the Nomad or country affiliation turned out, but at least for the Street Kid and Corpo, they both ended up in the same place basically at the beginning of the game. Now, I want to move over to a crucial part of the gameplay, the combat. You were given many different paths to tackle the combat and do it in your own way. There's hacking, sneaking, close combat, or just going in guns blazing. Now, all of these feed into two more broad categories of stealthy combat, or the more blunt head-on approach. Now, if you want to be stealthy and minimize the amount of enemies you'll take on at once, you use a combination of stealthily moving, stealth takedowns, and hacking to distract and disrupt enemies. The systems used are actually fleshed out very well, and you could easily use these types of combat if you prefer throughout the entire game. It's actually quite satisfying from time to time, and some missions even require or prefer that you use this style of combat. And I don't know, there's just something about sneaking around and trying not to be seen that made some of these missions my favorite. Now, if you're more like me though, you'll probably use more of the guns blazing style of combat, where you can use a variety of guns that all feel pretty unique and fun to use. Along with this, if you like, you could use close combat with your fists, or baseball bats, or even katanas, which are my personal favorite, plus many more. Now, my only real issue with the close combat is that it feels kind of clunky. It's very easy to lose sight of your enemy while in close combat, and I feel like there should be a feature that allows you to strictly lock onto one enemy at a time, sort of like the system used in Breath of the Wild. Now, I understand that it's very hard to nail close combat while in first person, but I feel like with a few tweaks, this system can be even more fun than it already is. Because seriously, there's something just so fun about running around at enemies and slicing at them with a sword. I'm glad that the game offers that personal touch for combat though, and ideally, at least for me, you'll try to find that middle ground between the stealth and blunt combat ways, and learning when to use each, although not all missions allow you to go in guns blazing, and many have you adapt to a new style, if it's a stealth mission or if the target needs to be kept alive. But overall, the combat is very enjoyable and probably one of the strongest suits of the game. Now, I want to circle back to the graphics, because I feel like the game can look pretty good at times, especially looking at things in the distance and the settings around you. The issues usually arise when you try to look closer. A lot of this has to do with the rendering and optimization, which I already talked about, but it's sort of a shame because a lot of the things when fully rendered in look really good. And I can really appreciate all that it took to build the city and bring it to life, because the map is really expansive and large, and I feel like there are just so many alleys and areas to explore. Plus, I just like the way the city looks. The different districts all having different colors and architectural styles is a great addition, and I just can't stress enough how good the city looks when it fully renders. It can actually be breathtaking at times. I can also appreciate all the minor things as well, like for instance, I chose not to drink the champagne in the opening scene, and later when I denied a drink from a friend, I'm pretty sure I got a different response than what you would usually get, which was, "You know I don't drink." I thought that was a really cool touch, and who knows how many of these small things that there are that bring this game to life. Also, the music in this game is awesome, especially the radios and the vehicles, because each car you get in will usually be set to a different radio station depending on the area and model of the car. Personally, my favorite station is Pacific Dreams, since I like the laid-back techno that usually plays, and it really fits my ideas of this cybernetic world. But there are a total of 11 radio stations, all having different music genres playing. Do you want to listen to some classic rock? There's a station for that. How about Spanish rap? There's a station for that too. What about some Japanese pop? Well, you're in luck because there is a station for that. Honestly, I'm going to have to find a playlist with all these songs from the game because some of them are seriously amazing, and it's the little things like this that really get me excited. Now, I feel like I should talk about this somewhere, but the currency in this game is called Eurodollars. Now, Eurodollars is, well, a new futuristic combined currency between euros and the US dollar, which I'm guessing is used around most of the world. Oh, talking about the world, the USSR is somehow still around in this game. Like, you get on a few missions regarding them, and don't ask me how they're still around because I really couldn't tell you. But basically, you get these Eurodollars by completing missions, neutralizing enemies for their bounties, and stealing from vending machines. Yeah, there's this feature where you can jack in, enter a code, and get money from vending machines. Honestly, it's pretty cool though. And the currency is actually pretty balanced. Like, I don't ever feel like I'm not able to buy something because it's crazy expensive for the most part, and everything isn't really dirt cheap either. And if there is something really expensive, it's not too difficult to save up for it. So you won't be having to sink in hours upon hours just for a single item you're interested in. Now personally, I like to buy clothes and cars in this game, and I try to look the best I can while still keeping somewhat good stats. And honestly, that shopping thing alone is enough to keep me interested for hours. Like I said, I'm a simple man, easy to appease. Although the game is full of false promises and it looks nothing like how the trailers portrayed it, but there's so much to unpack there and so many people have made better videos than I ever could on these topics, so I think I'll stay away just this one time. Overall, the game has been really enjoyable, even with its flaws. And the bones for a really great game are there, they just need to be polished a little bit more. I really do think that this game should have at least had another year or two of development, and it really sucks how it was pushed out early, because I would rate this game a 6 or a 7 at its best, even with some slight problems. But when the game starts to crash and has this many bugs, it starts to get dragged down to around a 4 at its worst. And while objectively I should have rated it at a 5, it just felt wrong to place it that low with all the enjoyment I've gotten out of this game. So my final score for Cyberpunk 2077 is a 6 out of 10. It has many issues, but even through them, I've still gotten a great amount of fun from this game. I might even update this rating in the comments or something the farther I get into the game though. So now to answer the age-old question of is it worth it? And my answer is, it depends. If you have a PS4 or Xbox One and feel like you can't stand this many bugs and glitches, then you may want to wait, at least until the game goes on sale. Because like I said before, I was really looking forward to this game, and it was one of those games that really meshed with me and catered to my interests, and if you don't really have those strong feelings going into it, it may be difficult to get your money's worth, especially in its state now. Now if you're on PC, from what I've seen, the game runs a lot smoother, at least graphics wise, so you may be more inclined to get it then. So I've heard a lot of the bugs and issues are still there, so keep that in mind. But hopefully the developers continue to update this game, because if done consistently for a year or two, we could see this game really flourish. And I know they were planning to release an online mode in about a year or so who knows what that will bring to the table. But hopefully you enjoyed the video. Also, look at this graph. Okay, but as always, stay awesome, TooAwesome, thanks for watching.